Eagles. Phillies lose 2 out of 3. The Mets, oh, man. So a lot to cover here on 97.3 ESPN. Eagles beat writer for NJ.com, Chris Franklin, will join me coming up in about 18 minutes from now. We'll talk more about the Eagles and the NFL draft. Sixers tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. Tom McGinnis on the call. I'll get to the Eagles and the NFL draft stuff in just a bit because we're going to have a lot of time to talk about that this hour. And, of course, you can chime in on the text board, join the conversation at 609-403-0973, or you can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Whatever way you want to get a hold of the show, you can do it. Whether you want to talk about the Eagles, the NFL draft, the NBA playoffs, the Sixers, Heat game 1, whatever is on your mind. But I'm going to start with the Sixers Heat game 1 myself because, with no Joel Embiid, it obviously creates a massive void for the 76ers. And to me, this series hinges on tonight's game. Tonight's the game. If you don't win it, you have zero chance of winning this series. And here's why. This is the first time you are throwing at the Heat this version of the Sixers team. Remember, go back through the season and you realize that, wait a minute, the Sixers only have been playing with James Harden for about, 2 months and change, basically? So there's not a lot of video footage of the Sixers in their current iteration. Even more so, there's very little to work off of for the Miami Heat when it comes to, for example, games without Joel Embiid. Embiid played most of the games this year. So if you are the Miami Heat with a head coach and Eric Spoelstra, whose background in the NBA is he was the guy who broke down tape. He was the guy in the video room cutting up the film for the coaches, reviewing the film with coaches. That's how he got his start. He became a video coordinator, then a video analyst, and he worked his way up the coaching ranks to be a head coach. So you have a guy like Spoelstra who literally has to look at his film of the Sixers and say, well, the problem is the last 2 times they played this team, I didn't see Harden in either game. And in one of the games, I didn't see Embiid either. The Sixers beat the Miami Heat without Embiid or Harden back on March 21st. So if you're Eric Spoelstra and that coaching staff, you don't have a lot of actual game tape to work off of. This is the Sixers' opportunity to go crazy, throw a curveball at the Miami Heat, and try to steal a win. Because this is the last time you're going to have this advantage. This is the last time you're going to have this opportunity to manipulate a game. Because once this opportunity is gone, Miami's got tape on you. Miami knows what your go-to moves are. Miami's already got a beat on you. So if I am the Sixers, whatever I got up my sleeve, whatever you got to do, whatever it is, get it done. Okay? It's now or never if you care about winning. And I'm not saying that the Sixers and Doc don't care about winning. But I do think that when you lose your superstar, there's an automatic letdown. There's an emotional drop-off automatically. Now it's on the Sixers to recalibrate, use the last few days to prepare, and come out with their best shot against Miami. Because this is now or never. After tonight, Miami's got tape on you. After tonight, Miami's going to have to adjust and game plan and recalibrate. You can win tonight. 76ers have a chance to win the series because Embiid will be back either game 3 or game 4, depending on how it goes with concussion protocols. Because everything I've read is that it's a minimum of 5 days, okay? Between when you're diagnosed and when you can be cleared at minimum in the NBA. So, in theory, Joel could be back by Wednesday. Maybe more likely, not Wednesday, for Friday's game 3. That's more than 5 days. Game 3 and game 4, that's your hope for Joel. If you don't win tonight, Miami's going to win the series in 5. You can book it. Because Miami's got depth. Miami's got veteran leadership. Miami's got guys who've won rings. Miami's got a coach and players who've got rings on their hands. Jimmy Butler's been to an NBA Finals. This entire roster is made up of either overachievers, guys with chips on their shoulders, or championship pedigree. This is the perfect storm. And now you don't have Embiid, who you're going to hope he has to come back with the mask on and turn into Bane Embiid and go crazy for you to even win the series. Tonight, Harden, Maxey, and Harris got to step up and step out. Tonight, Doc Rivers needs to get out of his own way and stop being stubborn when it comes to the bench rotations. You got to push every button. You got to try every scenario. You got to pick up and get on the court and say, here's my best role. Because you know what? If you don't do that, every one of us listening on 97.3 ESPN FM or watching the game on TV are going to rip you to no end. Yes. If the Sixers come out laissez-faire tonight with an attitude of, oh, well, we tried, I'm going to destroy you tomorrow. I know you don't care what I think, but Sixer fans are going to be feeling the same way I am. This city wants fighters. This city wants grinders. This city wants you to want it as bad as they do. And if you don't, it's going to take a long time for them to forgive you. 7:30 p.m. coverage begins. Sixers Heat, game 1 tonight on 97.3 ESPN FM. Now, Eagles NFL draft over the weekend. You can join me with your thoughts on that as well at 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. So on the flip side of all this, you have the Eagles. And day one was a win-win, right? Jordan Davis, that's the guy the Eagles wanted. He's the guy that makes sense for their defense. A.J. Brown, I've been begging them to get a real receiver across from Devonta Smith. They got him, right? Day two, little bit of a letdown. All right? Walking out of the draft with another center feels like the most underwhelming thing for the Eagles to do. And again, I don't hate them for doing it, but I do think that this is where Philadelphia gets their Negadelphia reputation. Because if you're a fan, you're looking around the draft and you're saying, man, you drafted a guy who played center last year. You brought in Nate Herbig the year before, a couple years before that. You drafted Isaac Seumalo before that. This organization now, between the draft and undrafted free agents, you have now brought in Seumalo, Herbig, and Dickerson and Jurgens. That's 4 guys who have played center in college all in the last several years, all with the intent of potentially having the heir apparent for Jason Kelce. And while it's cool that Kelce gave the check mark and signed off on the whole thing, it feels like you just lost that opportunity. You know, I don't know what the phone calls were like for the Eagles, but in the second round, it felt like you missed the chance to maybe take a couple of your draft picks next year, or maybe take Jalen Reagor, or maybe take whoever, and maybe just move up in the draft, for goodness sake, in the second round. You were so busy moving and shaking on day one that it felt like day two, Howie almost fell asleep at the wheel. Brisker was taken at 48th overall. Safety from Penn State. Booth, cornerback from Clemson, 42nd overall. Not that far ahead of you. Kyler Gordon, 39th overall, cornerback from Washington. You were at 51. You could have moved up. This is my one nitpick with the Eagles draft. I think overall, I give the Eagles a B+ or an A-, because Nakobe Dean falling to you was a win-win scenario. The dude's a leader. The dude's a stud. The dude is going to be the leader of your defense for years to come, and he fell to you at a point in the draft where no one expected him to be. Grant Calcaterra is a roll of the dice. If he doesn't have any more concussion issues, he could be a really, really good number 2 tight end for you in this team's offense across from Dallas Goedert and backing up Goddard. Kyron Johnson basically is physically a Hassan Reddick backup prototype. Physically, it's basically what his body type is. He's going to be a guy who's going to be an edge rusher in the NFL. That's just who he is, what his skill set is. But my big nitpick is, what are the two of the biggest needs for this team? Cornerback and safety. And you could have moved out of 51st overall. I understand at that point, it was a little too high to take a guy like Brian Cook from Cincinnati. But you could have traded down and still gotten him. In the third round, before Nakobe Dean fell to you, you could have theoretically moved around a little bit. JT Woods of Baylor, take it ahead of Dean, right? Cordell Flott, taken ahead of Dean. Marcus Jones of Houston, taken after Dean. I think that the big negative against the Eagles, they didn't walk out of this draft with any corners or any safeties. And their obsession with the lines came back to bite them. The lack of ability to go get a certain player that you needed in favor of a position that you seem to draft every year just feels like a miss for Philadelphia, to me at least. Look, I just don't think that Philadelphia lost the draft, because I think every pick in this draft, I love Davis. I love the acquisition of A.J. Brown. The Kobe Dean falling to you is absolutely incredible. I mean, for goodness sake, even Calcaterra in the later rounds, I think is a very underrated value pick. But walking away with another interior offensive lineman just feels a little tone deaf for an organization that, if they are going to tell you that your starting corner across from Darius Slay next year is Zech McPherson, I think half the Eagle fans are going to want to throw up before the game even starts. So we'll talk more Eagles NFL draft coming up with Chris Franklin from NJ.com. Eagles beat writer joining me next right here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank in Seattle City. I'll get to your text messages a little bit later this hour. Keep them coming in at 609-403-0973. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night.
It's Sixers playoff basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McInnes, calling all the play-by-play action.
Stop, spins, hangs, fires. It's good. A remarkable turnaround. A pirouette. Baby, and it's good.
It's Sixers Heat. Game 1. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers playoff basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN FM.
The number of people doing business online has skyrocketed since the pandemic hit last year. So it has never been more important than now to make sure your business can be found online. Town Square can help you find more local customers with premium website services to help you grow your business faster when you visit mylocalcustomers.com. Don't wait. Visit mylocalcustomers.com today to learn more about how Town Square can help you grow your business. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get access. Well, not anymore, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide with deals like our Silver Unlimited plan for just $45 a month and no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for $249, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
O'Reilly.
If your vehicle squeals or grinds when you slow down or just isn't stopping like it used to, you may need new brake rotors and pads. Now through May 24th at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get 15% off a set of Brake Best Select or Import Direct brake pads and 2 rotors. Restore safe braking and save money now at O'Reilly Auto Parts or order online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
KFC knows that when it comes to chicken sandwiches, there's good and there's finger-licking good.
A chicken sandwich? That's good. A 100% white meat KFC chicken sandwich so delicious it forces you to rethink everything you know about sandwiches, including whether or not they even need buns, but then you remember how good a brioche bun can be and then having to rethink your rethinking? That's finger-licking good.
KFC's chicken sandwich, always served hot and crispy, and your choice of classic or spicy. Order now on the KFC app. Kentucky Fried Chicken, that's finger-licking good.
Prices and product availability may vary.
What makes mulch so lovable? The texture? The smell? Well, it's not just people that love mulch. Your plants do too. Retaining moisture and regulating soil temps, it's the whole package. And when you use Scott's Earthgrow or exclusive Vigoro wood mulches, you can even pick the color. What's not to love? Stop in for mulch and everything else you need this season. It feels like spring at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Welcome to Allstate, where you can really control your savings. Because when you drive less, you save more with pay per mile. So you're really in control of your savings, only paying for the miles you drive. Yeah, life is good when you're in the driver's seat. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands with Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today.
Not available in every state. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, Norfolk, Illinois.
Spring into savings all month and spring out of that car you hate at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Toms River. We'll take any trade, any make, any condition, even if you're stuck in a loan or lease. Matt Blatt Kia can get you released. Do you have a job? Do you clear $350 per week? You could be approved with 0 down and low interest rate financing on every clearly marked new Kia in stock. And remember, we have new Kias arriving daily. Just because you don't see it on the lot doesn't mean you can't be driving your new Kia home tomorrow. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. And don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkiamj.com for complete details. Expires 5/8/2022. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
You heard what I had to say about the Eagles draft. Now we'll ask someone who was at the A.J. Brown press conference today. Spoke for the first time as a Philadelphia Eagle to the media. The aftermath of the 2022 NFL draft. Chris Franklin from NJ.com joins us right now here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank in Seattle City. Chris, welcome back, my friend. How you doing?
Doing well, man. It feels like it's football season already. I'm loving being active again. It's fun.
Well, I was just telling you off the air. It's like you're there. It's almost like as much as you would be during the season for the last few days.
Oh yeah, crazy. And it's like as much I feel like I need pay the Eagles rent. As much as I've been in that media house, I feel like I've been feeling like living there the whole entire time. But it's good being able to write stories again and talking to you and talking to everybody else about Eagles football.
So let's start with AJ Brown, because obviously he just spoke to you guys today. And I think one of the things that stands out, at least to me, is I've now heard AJ refer to Jalen Hurts multiple times, not one time in passing, as his best friend. I don't hear a lot of guys calling the quarterback their best friend. So to me, that's a very interesting dynamic. The Eagles didn't just acquire a top 10 receiver guy in the NFL. They acquired a guy who thinks Jalen Hurts is his best friend.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the photoshops like tandem bicycles, the Step Brothers posters with those two on there. I'm waiting for those to start popping up. But yeah, these guys go back. I mean, Jalen Hurts was the one that tried to recruit him to come to Alabama, but Brown went to Ole Miss instead. And now it looks like the recruiting job that Jalen Hurts did this time worked, because he was mentioned out. A.J. Brown even mentioned that he had to freeze him out during the day of the trade because he's wanted to make a decision. But ultimately, you gotta think that Hurts had a big role in that and coming into this offense now.
So you mentioned the offense. What do you think is going to be the biggest change? I know a lot of Eagle fans, they're divided right now, right? There's that one group of fans who are like, hey, Jalen Hurts is our guy. We believe in him. The organization believes in him. And you have the other group of the fan base who are like, Jalen can't throw. He's inaccurate. He's a mobile quarterback.
I think this helps them out a lot. And I think all of a sudden, I think you'll see that completion percentage, which was around 61% last year. I think it goes up to 67. Reason being, you won't see Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert double teamed as much, because now you got to account what are you going to do for A.J. Brown. You're going to probably have to keep the safeties back a little bit more, so you wouldn't be surprised seeing more high percentage slants, deep outs, curls, and stuff like that, which is going to definitely help him out when it comes to his passing yards, when it comes to completion rates. And now you have a receiver who is a bigger body guy that can go up and catch some of those things, as opposed to what we saw with guys like Jalen Reagor, who had issues with that. So I think overall you'll start to see I think you'll see Hurts make some improvements when it comes to his ball placement, when it comes to the arm angles he throws at and stuff like that. But also I think a lot of those passes that you saw thrown to other guys that looked like they were going to be complete or that, you make up for it now with A.J. Brown, and you got more opportunities to throw the ball now to Dallas Goedert and Devonta Smith.
We know in the past Sirianni has spoken glowingly to an uncomfortable level about Quez Watkins. So is it fair to assume moving forward the quarterback hierarchy is A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins, and Pascal, I guess?
I would not put that past that one bit, because I was speaking with somebody beforehand, and they were saying that when you look at the amount of pressure that, surprisingly, some coaches around the league actually really think Quez Watkins is tough, especially in the slot. When you look at his speed and what he brings inside there, it's all about to me, a lot of this defense is all about where you place the safeties. And the fact that you have to keep him back, and teams have to worry about saying, oh, well, we're going to have to worry about Brown. Oh, we can just double up Smith. Now that the fact you have Brown in the field, you can put Quez Watkins out there. It's tough to account for that, because they have to account for his speed. So this offense was built primarily about the speed, about the athleticism of these receivers. So when you have that now, I really think that he's going to be – I think he's wide receiver 3 in Pascal. And, boy, I'll tell you right now, Jalen Reagor is a wide receiver 5 if he makes it through camp. If he's not released by then, that's a disappointment.
Are you surprised they didn't get a chance to maybe trade him during the draft?
I am surprised he's here. I thought he was going to be gone, but how telling is it that nobody was willing to even give up a 7th round pick for a 6th or 7th round pick for him? I know his contract is a lot of it more than what you want to pay to give up a 7th round pick and for a guy like that who's been inconsistent, but he's got some. The one thing I was surprised with, some teams still liked him a lot coming out of college, and you see a guy raw talent wise, he brings speed, but I don't know if it's a mental block. I don't know if he in his head a little bit when it comes to making, because he's so inconsistent catching the ball, and he's got everything else going around him. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I thought at least he would have been going by. I thought, at least Eagles could have gotten at least a 6th rounder for him, but it's shocking that he's still here.
Chris Franklin joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, Eagles beat writer for NJ.com. Chris, let's hit on the draft here. To me, day one was a win-win, right? Nobody in their right mind is going to say it wasn't a win. You got your top-tier receiver in A.J. Brown. You got one of the top players in the draft in Jordan Davis. Of those two moves, did one of them you think going to pay off more long-term than the other?
Well, I think long term, I think the AJ Brown one is going to be the one that that's going to really pay dividends, and for when you look at the way this offense goes, when you look who your future personnel as well too, because if that connection between him and Hurts does well, you got Hurts here long term. I think. I do think the Jordan Davis trade to move up was very underrated, and not just in the sense that you got this really big body guy who can stuff a run. I think he really keeps up a lot of pressure off those linebackers that they have, because they're not the biggest bunch now. When you come to Kaiser White, you look at Hassan Reddick, even though he's probably going to be more like a rush linebacker. And when you look at TJ Edwards, the fact they're not like your old 250 guys, the 260 guys that can move about and like run downhill. No, these are fast, athletic guys that are in the 230s and 240s. And the fact that you now have to use two offensive linemen now to block Davis, and you still have to worry about Javon Hargrave, you still have to worry about Milton Williams in the middle of the field. That allows those linebackers to flow freely to the ball, diagnose the play, and make some plays. So the fact that they added him, I think, is extremely underrated.
Yeah, to me, Davis, I know you don't agree with me on the analogy. To me, I feel like he's kind of like Haloti Ngata with his athleticism. He's the kind of guy that, you're not going to ask him to go get you 10 sacks, but he's going to be a disruptive force of nature that other teams can't not game plan for.
Yeah, and I think the main thing is going to be, I think especially when he was taking off, a lot's been made about him being off the field for first and second down. Well, he's been on the field for first, second down, then they take him off when it came to rush things. It's a legitimate concern, but I think the one thing he's shown, I've seen like some other like videos, stuff like that, he's shown that he has a couple pass rush moves if he needs to use it when they deal with passing downs. It's a matter of just trying to refine some of those things, and also when it comes to the angle of attack he uses when it comes to exploding through at the line. I think that's where Tracy Rocker, defensive line coach, is going to come in. And I think you can iron that stuff out, and if he does that, gets out a little bit lower, I think you have a good pass rushing force that can actually eventually stay on the field for 3 downs if need be too.
Now, mentioning of Georgia, his teammate they got as well might be one of the biggest surprises of the draft. If you would have told me Nakobe Dean was going to be available in the 3rd round, I would have told you were nuts. But this young man, who was the leader of the number 1 defense in college football, fell into the Eagles' lap. And you could argue this is probably the best linebacker they've drafted in, over a decade plus?
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, like, I know everybody, the Stuart Bradleys of the world and the Chris Gokongs and everybody else, but yeah, this guy, and that's the key thing. I really wish I knew who put that out there initially when it came to that back injury, because it's really the thing. He says he's good to go, and I'm really intrigued. And the thing is, I hope it's not a thing of semantics where, because rookie camps, you're not hitting anybody, you're not really being physical, you're not tackling to the ground, stuff like that. Right. Well, he's going to be on the field. I want to see how well he's moving around. I want to see if that pec is giving him issues, and I just don't want to hope he's not wearing the dreaded bucket hats. Whenever we see guys in those bucket hats, well, we know they're on the field, but they're standing on the sideline watching. You don't know what's going on with that. So if he's truly, as he says, and has the Eagles medical staff say he's okay, and it was more of a rest thing, and it's more a slight tear, I guess, as opposed and more strain as opposed to a complete significant tear, then they got probably the best pick in the draft for where they got him. But if it turns out that if we see back in like sometime in August or July, August, we get the news that he's going to have surgery, he's going to miss the whole entire year, I think the luster of that pick comes out a little bit more. And now you got a guy who, being that he was a 3rd round pick, you don't have 5 years of control. You just lost a year. You probably got 4 years. I think you have 3 more years after that. And that's a lot for a guy who's got injury questions.
I just tend to think, and this is my opinion, Chris, I'm not saying I'm right, but I was watching the NFL Network draft coverage for the draft, and both two guys who have worked in the NFL, Daniel Jeremiah and Scott Pioli, both basically ripped the situation, saying, look, there were no medical red flags coming out of the combine, but yet the day of the draft, there's medical stuff being rumored around, and they just felt like this was somebody putting some nefarious information out there. Because you go back and watch Dean in college, it's not like he missed who missed time in college? Derek Stingley. He missed a bunch of games in college. Nakobe Dean played almost every game of his college career.
Yeah, and they said this thing happened mostly at the combine. And the thing is, usually you will hear a leak going here, they're going, hey, you may want to watch him drop. And a lot of us are plugged in that. And the fact that it came out of nowhere, that's one thing I wish they can't really do it, but I wish they could find some way to have a type of insurance or something like that for him if he took it out just for that drop. Because for the life of me, even with that information of that injury and everything else, I don't see how he goes past. Even if he had a pec tear or something like that, I don't understand how he didn't go. He went all the way past the second round. Because if Jabo had a blown out Achilles and the team still took him, I think that's even more of an indictment about what teams think about off-ball linebackers now too.
Chris, I think the other part of the problem is just kind of go big picture with you for a moment. I think this draft was an amalgamation of the last two drafts because
SAT word, nice.
Well, the reason I used it was because, I was watching how teams were drafting in their analysis, and it felt like some teams said, hey, we had success in 2020 when we weren't able to do things the way we usually do it. And other teams said, well, we had success in 2021 doing things the way we used to do it. And I feel like teams merged two different styles of evaluating into a lot of their draft analysis. I think that's why some of these guys drop. Like, for example, the fact that Andrew Booth was a second-round pick to me is an insult to anybody who watches football. But guess what? He's sitting there being picked at 42 overall? The Dean dropping. You see that quarterback, only one quarterback went in the first round in an NFL where, EJ Manuel was a top 15 pick. So to me, I feel like this entire draft was a lot of teams trying to outthink themselves.
Well, I think especially when you talked about the quarterback position, I don't think it was a lot. I think teams were really scared off because you look at the guys that went there. You look at Desmond Ridder, guys who really should have been like second rounders. I think teams were staying more safe in my opinion. They didn't want to take a chance on that and upset their current quarterbacks on the roster. Although I thought Carolina maybe should have gone one a little bit earlier and picked Wilson second, but yeah, I think that they wanted to stay safe because there was so much unknown with this draft. I mean, when you look at the defenders that were available, especially, I think a lot of teams rather go that and then take their chances next year when you have a little bit better proven commodities out there, especially with like Young from Alabama and a couple of the other guys. So I think teams felt more comfortable doing it that way instead of just trying to go out there and go, let's take a lottery ticket on one of these guys and hopefully they're good in about a couple of years and miss out on these next year's crop.
While the Eagles are keeping up with the quarterback factory, Carson Strong as a undrafted free agent.
Yeah, you know what? I liked him a lot, and I thought, and he's not mobile. I think for him, I like him as a QB2 in the future, especially with Minshew being in the last year of his contract, or if a team has another injury during training camp, and somebody goes to the Eagles, hey, we'll give you a second or a third for Minshew. Okay, let him develop behind Hurts. And I think he's in a good situation because he's not mobile, so you need an offensive line that can protect him.
Right.
He's got a strong arm. I think that's good. And don't forget E.J. Perry. I like E.J. Perry, too. And I think out of Brown, I think he throws a nice ball deep. I don't foresee him being usurping Carson Strong, especially with Carson Strong, I think, getting like $300,000 guaranteed. So he's not usurping him. But if he's a QB3 or on your practice squad and develop, you can do what they used to do back in the day with like A.J. Feely and Jay Fiedler and get a pick for him later on. Hey, more power to him.
Well, it also comes down to, you know how this is, Chris, because you've been covering the Eagles for a while. They like to throw flyers at guys. And, between signing Carson Strong and then Grant Calcaterra, they got him in the 6th round, two guys with injury histories, but two guys who have this upside that can't be denied.
And who would have thought Calcaterra has a legit spot to be the second tight end on this team? Because Absolutely. Right now, when you look at that, you got a guy who's converted from quarterback who just suffered an ACL tear in Tyree Jackson. You got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside trying to switch over to that position, and you got Jack Stoll's unknown. So Calcaterra has a legit chance to be on the field, especially. He needs to work on his blocking, I think, a lot. But when it comes to his route running, especially as much as SMU threw last year, it seems like all they do is throw down there. I think he does well. So he's got a good chance to step in. But you're right. When it comes to especially with those later in the draft, those 6th and 7th rounders, you're looking for guys with talent. guys who you can see, okay, you just need a little bit more coaching to do something else or here or there, and they can turn into contributors. And I think you got that when it comes to not only him, but Tyron Johnson as well, too.
Eagles beat writer Chris Franklin from NJ.com joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM at C Franklin News on Twitter. All right, Chris, I'm going to go Negadelphi on you for a minute here. I do have one beef with this draft, and that is I understand that Jason Kelsey gave him the check, sign, seal of approval, but for a team that does not have a legitimate number 2 corner, that has very thin safety situation, you're now grabbing another guy who played center in college. I mean, you drafted Sayamalu, who played center at Oregon State. You originally had Nate Herbig, who played center in college. Dickerson played center in college. Now Juergens played center in college. And it's like, great. You think you got the next Jason Kelsey. That's all well and good. But who the heck's playing across from Darius Slay?
Oh, well, get ready for the Zach McPherson show.
Oh, God.
Like. It really does. but I have no problem with the Juergens pick at all. I have no problem if that's the guy. I think he was the best center in the draft this year. I just question if they had a willing partner, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody offered them a 5th round pick and to swap 2nd round picks. I thought they could have gotten them a little bit back there because say if you had if you had the extra 5th round pick, maybe you get Tariq Woodley now all of a sudden. That looks a lot better than not having taken a cornerback after draft or throwing money out in the undrafted free agent pool and hoping that one of these guys hit. I just think I look at what Juergens can do. You do see a lot of Kelsey. It's like if you had mixed Kelsey's athleticism and put him in Jamal Jackson's body. I think that's what you got in Juergens, and that's good. I have no problem with that, and I think it's going to work out. I just think they could have. I think he would have gone in like the late 2nd round, I believe. And given that he basically is probably going to be Kelsey's last year, it looks like he's taking a year to year. Give him a year to learn everything else, especially with the way that the responsibilities the center has in this offense, calling the defense, getting protections. I have no problem with that. I just think they could have picked up an extra pick and used that to get a cornerback or a safety later on.
Yeah, I don't hate Juergens himself. I just feel like, I mean, listening to you say Zach McPherson made me and other Eagle fans just cringe. Like it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's like, I'm at the point where can the Eagles just give like vet minimums to every cornerback free agent and just swarm camp with like guys like Joe Hayden and Kyle Fuller and just go nuts? Like I would feel more comfortable with that at this point.
I'm curious, and it's funny with Joe Hayden. He's one guy, and then Xavier Rhodes. Because he's had experience playing with Gannon before in the past. And he's not going to be the Xavier Rhodes you used to see with the Vikings, the guy who, the 3-time Pro Bowl or 3-time All-Pro guy. You won't see that. But I think he's a guy that you can at least insert there and can give you near Nelson type productivity. It's a matter of just like, I know the Eagles used a lot of roster spots in a lot of different ways. I mean, They look at Tate Gowan. They got him back in the Zach Ertz deal. You don't want to waste that stuff. I think they're really going to. I really think it's going to be a cavalcade of cornerback stars going through, and next thing you know, trying to see who's going in and start whittling down in training camp, and then maybe midway through they sign a veteran guy. But they like Zach McPherson a lot. It looks like it.
All right, Chris, before I let you go, I'm going to give you a list of guys, and you could do what you want with them, but I think there's a possibility that one of these guys gets traded for the start of the season. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Andre Dillard, Jalen Reagor, Zach McPherson, Kevon Wallace.
Oh, Wallace and McPherson. McPherson is going to be your starter. Kevon Wallace is going to be your special teams contributor. I think unless there is an injury during training camp, I think Dillard's going to be here. And I don't think Rager's going to get traded. I think he's going to be eventually released because if nobody was willing to give you a pick this year, unless I doubt somebody's going to say, hey, here's a 2023 6th-round pick. We'll take Rager off your hands and still pay that contract. I think it's going to be more of a release, if anything, and that's going to be sad. You can't even get pennies on the dollar for the guy in order to be out there. I do think he's gone, but I don't foresee anybody trading for him.
I mean, the Cardinals need a wide receiver. Why can't, anyway.
Just make sure they don't bring any beaver stuff with them.
I literally just started reading some of that speculation online. You know what it reminds me of? Remember what was it, a decade ago with the antler, the deer antler with Ray Lewis?
Yeah. Come on, don't you know that's the best way to mask everything else? That makes you bigger, faster, and stronger, and help you out with Kyler Murray. You need the beaver stuff, yeah. So apparently, that's the way to go. I did it wrong, I guess. Apparently, I did the whole entire process wrong. You start investing in that stuff, I guess.
As soon as I saw the report, Chris, that Hopkins was not gonna appeal the suspension, I knew he did something stupid. You know what I mean? Usually a guy appeals the suspension and tries to get out of it. You know what I mean? Or tries to get reduced. As soon as I saw I wasn't appealing, I'm like, all right, what did he do? What stupid thing did he think was a good idea?
Could you imagine me and Steve Keim this year? You had to deal with the whole entire Kyler Murray trade, not trade, and you're thinking, okay, we just had a draft class. I feel good. Wait, what? What's going on with DeAndre Hopkins? You kind of feel bad for the guys, and then it's part of the business. You got to make sure you build culture. You got to get these guys knowing what's right and wrong, and they should know. They're adults. They've been, especially with Hopkins, been in the league for a while. He knows what's allowed. You just ask a guy going, "Hey, is this okay?" No, okay. So that's just bad on so many levels.
Look, I'm not trying to be mean, Chris, but looking at Steve Keim, he might be the guy who gave him the beaver tranquilizer. I mean.
This is not for hunting. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I mean, between Joe Douglas and Steve Keim, they probably could be the bodyguards of the club, honestly. So,
if any offensive line help, for sure they got the build for it. So, hey,
he's Chris Franklin. You can follow him on Twitter at C Franklin News. Coverage of the Eagles over at NJ.com. And don't forget the resurrection of the podcast. Mike K moved on to other opportunities, and now you got Les Bone with you over there on the pod.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I feel like Jalen Hurts all of a sudden. He had a good teammate and everything. He moved on, got a new deal, so now I got a good. He's better than Joe Flacco. I'll put it that way. But it's great to have him part of in the room, and then go from there. So it's great. It's great talking to Les. Great working with Les. He's a great guy, and looking forward to the season and pushing out some good content. We hope.
Yeah, no offense to Mike, but I think Les might be a bit of an upgrade.
Stricken from the record. I know nothing. No, Mike is great. Mike is extremely great.
I know. Mike's good people. It's just Les has been doing it so long, he's probably forgotten more than some people know. So.
For me, for sure, yeah. It's crazy when you're in high school and you're reading the guy, and next thing you know, you're working with him. It's awesome, dude. It's really crazy. It's fun though.
I hear you absolutely. All right, Chris, I appreciate you jumping on. Go actually back to your house soon, so you don't have to sleep at the NovaCare. Okay.
I hope so. I'm trying to skip out on this bill real quick, but yeah, it'll be good.
He's Chris Franklin. Check out his work over at NJ.com. Eagles beat writer, and also the podcast is Inside the Huddle. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. We'll check out your comments on the text board at 609-403-0973 next.
It's Sixers playoff basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McInnes, calling all the play-by-play action.
Stop, spins, hangs, fires. It's good. A remarkable turnaround. A pirouette by Embiid, and it's good.
It's Sixers Heat. Game 1. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers playoff basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN FM.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. You know the saying, April showers bring May flowers. But what do May flowers bring? Allergies. So it's a great time to contact my friends at Ambient Comfort and ask about their indoor air quality solutions, including air purifiers and air filtration systems. These systems from Ambient Comfort provide so many benefits for your family. They can disinfect and continuously clean your air, eliminating biological contaminants, including viruses, mold spores, and bacteria. Whether you're dealing with allergies, asthma, or just want to cut down on the dust in the air, Ambient Comfort will audit your home to determine the best air quality solution, then install and maintain the system that makes sense for your home. If you're a bit of a germaphobe, this is for you. When comfort matters, choose Ambient Comfort. Visit AmbientComfortNJ.com. That's AmbientComfortNJ.com or call 609-568 0955. 609 568 0955. And tell them Mike Gill sent you.
This week on RVER, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
That new doctor is drop dead gorgeous.
Please, he's just another RV League educated surgeon with good hair.
No, he's different.
Nurses, we got a Class C motorhome with a detached driver's side mirror. Meet me in the OR. Stat.
Right away, doctor.
No, she's on break. I'll handle this one.
Oh, you conniving little...
When your RV really needs saving, Progressive has you covered. See if you could save with a leader in RV insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms.
Okay, let's start unloading the sod over here.
The grass is always greener when Haruka's Lawn Care does the mowing.
And then we want to get the flower bed started before lunch.
They need a new landscaping designer to keep their budding business growing.
Oh, can we double check the incline here? This one needs to drain this way.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The future will be amazing, and that's all well and good. But what about today? You can feel the rush of a 400 horsepower Nissan Z, or climb to new heights in the all-terrain Nissan Frontier. Light up the road in the all-electric Nissan Ariya that feels like a sci-fi dream come true. The future will be great, but today is made for thrill. All you have to do is get in a Nissan and drive. 2023 Ariya and Z not yet available for purchase. Expected availability is this spring for 2023 Z and this fall for 2023 Ariya.
KFC knows that when it comes to sharing, there's good and there's finger licking good.
A meal with sides, that's good. 3 equally delicious sides? So even if one kid loves mac and cheese, another only eats mashed potatoes, and the third is basically 90% French fry, there'll still be no complaints, besides why bedtime can't be midnight and ice cream isn't a breakfast food? That's finger licking good.
KFC Sides Lovers Meal. Pick 3 large sides and pair them with 8 crispy tenders or your favorite fried chicken. Order now on the KFC app. Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's finger licking good.
Prices and product availability may vary.
O'Reilly. Improve your gas mileage and save money with fuel system cleaner from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner for just $10. Plus, earn double O Rewards points and get your next reward even faster. For a clean, lubricated, more efficient fuel system, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or shop online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Bounty, the quicker picker upper.
How do you make the most of your land? Shaw does it behind the wheel of the John Deere 1025R compact tractor.
Shaw stands for skilled hands at work.
And he lives up to the name as he uses his versatile tractor to make
the earth take the shape that I wanted to take.
And the Allens fire up their John Deere 3032E compact tractor to grow about 9 acres of flowers. Because the beauty of having land is deciding how to make it yours. There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by AC Airport. Plan your next vacation now and create memories to last a lifetime. Start with nonstop flights from Atlantic City to Boston, Atlanta, San Juan, and Miami. Book your low-cost flight today at Spirit.com. All right, as promised, I'm going to get to your messages here on Game Night. Don't forget, 7:30 p.m. tonight. Sixers Heat Game 1 here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Tom McGinnis on the call. So Game 1 is tonight. Game 2 is Wednesday night. So those are the 2 Miami games at 7:30 each night. So remember, it's not 7, it's 7:30. So don't be flipping on the TV or turn on the radio too soon and be like, wait a minute, did I miss something? No, it's 7:30. You're good. Over on the text board, texter says, Sixers and Philadelphia, they need grinders like Jay Wright. Bye-bye, Doc Rivers. Look, I don't hate Doc Rivers. I think Doc has been hypersensitive and mishandled some of his media availabilities this year, and I think Doc's problem isn't Philadelphia. I think Doc's problem is he hasn't had a legitimate vacation from coaching in basically, 15, 16 years? From when he got to Boston, he went right to the Clippers, went right from the Clippers to the Sixers. The guy hasn't had any time off from the media, and I think it's burning on him a little bit. Whether he wants to admit it or not, everybody needs some time off. Everyone needs a break from their job at some point. And I think Doc, I think that he's had too much back-to-back-to-back time and not enough downtime. Matt and Kate May Courthouse chimes says, I'm cool with the Cam Jurgens pick by the Eagles because I think the O-line is the Eagles' strength. When it comes to drafting, I'd be concerned if they took some no-name safety or corner in the second round instead of Jurgens. Dean was well worth it, which makes the Jurgens pick even more tolerable. That's Matt and K-May Courthouse. Yeah, Matt, I totally get what you're saying. It's like, but my problem is, like I was telling Chris Franklin, you need help at a specific position, and you've been unable to address it. Tyrann Mathieu goes and he signs with the New Orleans Saints today, okay? And I think that deal was about him going home and being comfortable. I don't think it was specifically the Saints outbid the Eagles, because we already know the Eagles were going to offer Marcus Williams, who went to the Ravens, almost the same exact deal. So if they were willing to pay almost $70 million for Marcus Williams, you're telling me they weren't willing to put up $33 million for Tyrann Mathieu? I just had trouble believing that's the reality. I think the reality is that the Eagles are the bridesmaid for a lot of people this offseason. There's a lot of people who are free agents who looked at the Sixers and said, listen, you're attractive, but you're just not attractive as somebody else. So I just think that, Cam Jurgens had the chance to be a very good player. I don't doubt that. But I do think that there might be, they could have done something else. That's just my opinion. Look, for all I know, Cam Jurgens could be your starting center starting next year for the next 10 years, and it won't be a big deal. But the guy signed, look, as I told Chris Franklin, if I'm the Eagles, I go through training camp and I keep tabs with Joe Hayden and maybe not Kyle Fuller because he's more of a slot corner now, but Xavier Rhodes, any of those free agent corners right now, and just be like, look, guys, I understand you want to go through training camp, but if you're willing to come in here on a prove-it deal, we'll give it to you if you come to actual training camp and you won't be in here for the off-season team activities kind of thing. Because that's how these veterans think. A lot of these veteran players, they don't want to deal with OTAs. They don't want to deal with mini camp. They'll show up for training camp, but they don't want to deal with all the other stuff. So that's just kind of how I look at it. Because they need corner. If Zach McPherson is your starting corner this year, it's gonna be living dangerously. Very dangerous. I still don't understand why they drafted the guy and they barely played him last year. Don't tell me it's because they have Steven Nelson. You could have played him somewhere at some point in time. It's not like Steven Nelson played every down of every game. All right. Thanks again to Chris Frank from NJ.com for joining us today. Tomorrow night on GameNight, we'll talk NBA playoffs and Sixers with Brian Toporek from Forbes Sports. Sixers basketball, 7:30 p.m. tonight. Tom McGinnis on the call right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And then tomorrow, we'll recap it all on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill at 2 p.m. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.